So about 19 years ago, my wife and I were on our honeymoon, and we were backpacking around Panama, and we were kind of checking boxes. You know, we built our own house, we got married, we're on our honeymoon, and we're hoping to start a family, and it'd be pretty fun to do that on our honeymoon. And we were using the often method of conceiving. So she found this place for us to go stay at. It's called Monopeliz, which means happy monkey, and it was like an unsanctioned monkey sanctuary. This sort of wacky hippie expat crashed his boat into the shore. There was a for sale sign, and he saw a monkey, and it all seemed like fate. So he just like said, "This is a monkey sanctuary." He bought the land. And to get there, you get in the back of a rickety pickup truck, and at low tide, you drive for an hour and a half. And then eventually the truck like turns up in the jungle, and the truck driver says, you know, "That's your path. Just walk down that path." And he drives away. We're in the middle of nowhere. And so we walk into the jungle, and we go 100 feet, and there's a monkey. Like right at eye level, you know, a little tiny monkey. He was a squirrel monkey. That's the one with the little widow's peak and the pointy little ears. And this one was particularly small because he was a teenager. And he's at eye level, and we sort of sidle up to him, and he doesn't care. He's sitting there, he's eating this thing, looks like a little cigar, like Bugs Bunny, just looking at us, and we get right there, like we could almost touch him. He drops to the ground, he tosses his cigar, and he climbs up onto my wife's shoulder. And like now we have a monkey. And he's just sitting there, and we just start walking through the jungle. And I can't even believe it, because like, I mean, I'm guessing almost everyone here at some point dreamed of having a pet monkey. And he's sitting on my shoulder, and I'm kind of like, put my shoulder, like I can't wait for him to get on my shoulder, but he's not super interested in that yet. Every once in a while, he'll jump off and like leap up and catch a moth and like roll it into a little cigar. That's what the cigar was. It was a rolled up moth. So we walk for about 15 minutes, and we come to this open air kitchen, and there is our host, Wancho, the expat. And he's like, "Oh, I see you met Mickey." And we're like, "Yeah, what's Mickey's deal?" And he's like, "Well, his mother was killed, and I took him in by day. He wanders the jungle with the other monkeys, and at night he curls up in my cabin with me. But let's get you settled." Like, and he takes us down to this exquisite little beach, and the only thing on this little beach is a screened-in hut. And this is gonna be our home for a couple of days. And he's like, "All right, get settled, and Mickey and I will go up, and we'll get some lunch together, and just come up and have lunch after you get settled." And we're like, "Okay." And like I said, like, we're on a mission. She's ovulating. So we get settled. And when we come out of the hut, there's Mickey, jumps right up on my wife's shoulder, and we walk up to get some lunch. And, you know, on the way, I keep like putting my shoulder over, like waiting for some monkey time. And he's not into it yet. So we get up, we sit down, we're having lunch, and Mickey's like jumping down, he's catching moths, and he's sitting on my wife's shoulder. And at one point, he just like saunters across the table, and he looks down at my plate, and he looks up at me, and he takes one of my plantains and takes a bite of it and looks at me and just tosses it on the ground and goes back over to my wife. I'm like, that was odd. So we go out and we explore the land. We go swimming, we're checking out the jungle, and, you know, dinner time's coming up. So we go back to our hut, and we get settled again. And then we come out, and there's Mickey, and jumps up on my wife's shoulder, and we're walking along, and it becomes really clear that Mickey really likes my wife. And you can tell this because monkeys don't wear pants. And it's also very clear that he does not like me. So we get up for dinner. Sit down, same kind of stuff's going on, and he saunters across the table, looks at my plate, picks up a plantain, turns around, and sits in my rice and beans. And I'm like, "What?" And Wancho's like, "Oh, Mickey, you little rascal, get him, cut it out." And I'm like, I am not eating this food. there was a naked monkey butt in my food. So Juancho scrounges up some more food for me, and the next morning, we wake up and we do our thing. We get settled, we're on a mission, come outside, there's Mickey, and Mickey's not wearing any pants, pretty obvious that he likes my wife, and he's like caressing her hair, and he is really into my wife and into her hair, and he gets settled in my wife's hair. Yeah, it's not nice. And she's like, oh, she's kind of like, and I'm like, why? I don't know it's over. Look, there's nothing I can really do. So we sit down at our places, and something has changed in Mickey. He walks over, he doesn't care about my plantains anymore. He's looking at me, and his little razor-sharp teeth start showing. And he's like, he's tiny, but his teeth are really sharp. And I'm kind of freaking out, and he jumps up on my shoulder. And now the thing that I have been wanting so badly is the thing that I do not want at all. And I can feel his little nose and his teeth, and he's making these noises. And I don't speak monkey, but I know what he was saying. He was saying, game over, my friend. She is mine now. And I'm freaking out. I'm just like, he's gonna, Ebola. This is how it starts. And I was freaking out. And Juancho was like, oh, Mickey, get off of there, And he gets off my shoulder, and I grab my plate of food, and I go and I sit outside. And he's fine with that. And so we have about 3 more meals at this place, and I had to take all my meals outside. And I'm looking inside, and there is the monkey with my new bride. I'm watching them have dinner together. But I will say, Monopeliz was good to us because just last month, my 18-year-old daughter just celebrated her birthday, and I am pretty sure she's mine. Thank you.